Welcome to Top of the Drops, Gala's weekly show featuring the best in Web3 music. I'm Taco, your host. Thank you for joining us. If you could please go ahead and like and subscribe to this show. I'm told I can't get a Waffle House sponsorship until we get our numbers up, so it's important now. You gotta help me out. Fun show today. I sit down for an interview with Steve Baltin, a legendary music journalist now working with Forbes. Really excited about that. We also go into the songwriting mind of Bobby Millette. And as always, we're going to give away a free music NFT. To start, let's go to our Dropbot. Dropbot, take it away.
From the bottom, now we're here. It's the Dropbot bringing you your weekly dose of Web3 music drops. Let's go! Kicking us off, we have Anatomia by Radio Hazard on Gala Music. This is Radio Hazard's debut drop on Gala Music. Hailing from Puerto Rico, the bass producer and DJ has a bright future ahead if he can keep up this momentum. In at number 6, it's Artie by Shishi on Royal. The Indian-American electronica artist is tokenizing 25% of the royalties of his top-performing song for fans. At 5, it's Talk by Mia on Sound. While this is Mia's first appearance on the Top Drops chart, she is no stranger to Web3 music. She's done more than 50 drops so far and shows no signs of stopping. Next up, we have The STEM Mystic by Jaden Violet in at number 4. This is Jaden Violet's first music NFT drop in more than 7 months. But you wouldn't know it from the mints. With over 300, you can call The STEM Mystic a certified Web3 hit. In at number 3 is Bring the Light by Jessaray on Gala Music. This rock powerhouse dropped 150 editions of his newest track. All 150 were snapped up by a community of fans hungry for more. Congrats, Jessaray. At 2, it's Bricks by Daniel Allen on Sound. This is episode 3 in Daniel's Pin series, where he travels to a new location with a new artist to make a song. Bricks features artist Bellis, and it was mostly conceived on their plane ride to Daniel's hometown of Louisville. Coming in at number 1, it's Simple Love by Tessa Henley. This is the third release on Gala Music for the Washington State-based artist. With 150 editions minted, it's fully sold out! Well, that concludes yet another exciting adventure through the top drops of Web3 music this week. Brought to you by yours truly, the Dropbot and Gala Music!
Thanks, Dropbot. This is a big week for me. I'm celebrating my 1-year Galaversary. It has been quite the year of building to get to where we are now with the platform launch, all the fun stuff we're doing with Bowie. We're at NFT NYC. We have our second open mic this weekend. We're going to BCon for some really special stuff next month. Tons of great artists being on board that I think everyone's going to really enjoy. So many exciting things to look forward to. But the thing I'm still the most excited about is all the friendships I've developed, both internally and in the community, and building relationships, which for me has been super fun. And so I'd like to take a moment just to thank everybody who's watching for your support over the last year. It's meant a ton to me to be a part of this community, and I hope to keep doing it for a long time. Okay, enough of the personal stuff. Sorry about that. I get a little emotional. I like Gala. I like you guys. We had the opportunity to interview Steve Baltin, who is a legendary music journalist. He has interviewed everybody over the course of his career. And Bucks was originally going to do this interview, but I kind of jumped in and stole it because I just really wanted to talk to this guy. And so I hope you enjoy our chat. Steve, thank you so much for joining me. I guess to start, you have a pretty long bio. If you could maybe just give us the elevator spiel on who you are, what you've done.
As I say, so my name is Steve Baltin, and I'm a journalist / author / host / again, it's so funny. You just stick around long enough and you find yourself in lots of weird situations. So I did 2 contracts at Rolling Stone. I wrote for LA Times. Just meet a lot of people. It's funny. The first time I was introduced to Billie Eilish, her publicist, who's a friend, introduced me as a music journalism legend. And I was like, that's just code for saying I'm old, right? And she started laughing. And I was like, that's why you're introducing Billie to the old dude, right? But I mean, I've interviewed James Brown. I've interviewed B.B. King. I've interviewed Aretha. I've sat with Mick Jagger with topless models behind us at a Rolling Stones fashion show. I mean, I've had John Lee Hooker. I've had crazy situations, like been told off by Axl Rose, had a drunk Skrillex hugging me, telling me he loves me. And again, it's just a matter of hanging around long enough. It's the same thing with artists. Look at Nick Cave, who's like the coolest rock god in the universe, right? Nick Cave used to be playing places that were 6,000 people. Now all of a sudden he headlines arenas, Same thing, Leonard Cohen wasn't the songwriting god he was until late. Basically, music industry, it's funny. Even though the idea was the Who, hope I die before I get old, it actually rewards people who stick around for a long time.
Well, that's the move then. I'm just going to stick around for a long time.
If you get lucky enough, yeah. And currently I host a podcast called My Turning Point. I am a senior contributor at Forbes. I had a book come out in October called Anthems We Love. I'm working on multiple book projects now. So that's what I do today. But it's a little bit of just yesterday, I became the first person, I believe, in the history of the world. This is not verified, but I feel very confident that no one else in the world has ever interviewed Willie Nelson, Millennium, and Alice in Wonderland all in the same day.
That's really good. I think if I'm interviewing you, I'm doing all right. That's a big enough box to check today. We'll get there. And I like the style of the way you talk to people. I've been checking out the old episodes of Riffing With, and I love just the casual, you're just hanging out, having conversations with people. It seems like they open up to you, which is really cool.
Thank you. Well, I mean, for me, it's funny. I actually cannot do scripted interviews, and it's not because I have a problem with it. It just doesn't work for me. For every time I've tried to, the last time I wrote out questions for an interview, 2006, Aretha Franklin, and they asked me to write out questions, and I was like, well, it's Aretha. I will do that for her and only her. I get on the phone with her, and I said, I know you've seen the questions, and she goes, I haven't seen the questions. You can ask me whatever the hell you want. And after that, I was like, all right, if Aretha doesn't care, then I'm never writing out questions ever again. And it's just, for me, I like to be casual, but that also allows me to, wait, am I allowed to swear or no?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, that also allows me to fuck up, and I'm not afraid to fuck up in person. That's a big thing, is, having no fear of failure. I'm very comfortable making an ass of myself.
That's important. My community would let you know I'm the exact same way. I'm constantly messing up, which I think is part of my charm.
Well, look, when you go see a band in concert, right, you want to see the authenticity. And sometimes you fuck up, and that's okay. I think I agree, 100% it's part of the charm. Again, you talk to enough artists, they'll tell you sometimes their favorite moments are the mistakes.
So you've obviously had access to everybody. Is there any artist left out there who you would like to interview and you haven't had your shot yet? Or you can just get whoever you want?
Nope. I definitely cannot get whoever I want. And there's the one holy grail for me. And I've gotten close, but it hasn't happened yet. And that is Springsteen, my favorite artist of all time. I've never even met him. I've never even gotten to shake his hand. So We've been in the same room a couple times. His Twitter account has retweeted articles I've done on E Street Band. I've interviewed several members of the band, but never Bruce. So that's the number one.
Maybe that's good though, right? To have that one thing you can't quite get to yet. You don't want to.
Well, I accept the fact that I'm never interviewing Dylan, right? I accept the fact that I'm never sitting down with Dylan. Springsteen, no. That one. It's funny though, when Bowie passed away, because I never got to meet him, and huge Bowie fan. I actually was okay with that in a weird way because it kept the mythology alive for me again. I've had tea with Neil Young. I've interviewed Paul Simon, Stevie Wonder, so many great legends. Even when they're great, it takes away a bit of the mythology. So for David Bowie, for me, is forever etched in that, adolescent fantasy like a John Lennon or Bob Marley who passed before I got to interview them.
Yeah, that makes sense. You obviously would have a great perspective on the music industry as a whole. Gala is going in a different direction. Like, we're on the blockchain, it's Web3. Where do you see music going in the future, the next year, 2 years? What's the evolution look like to you?
I mean, I think the evolution is that basically music is going to continue to, I think where we're going primarily is we're going back to authentic artists. I think we're going to artists who really have a tremendous artistic vision. And you look at the success of Samara Joy. I just did an interview with Jamie Krentz, who's the president at Verve. We had a great conversation geeking out for 20 minutes on Paul Westerberg, who's one of my heroes. But I think you're going to see that people want that more and more and more. And again, however that manifests itself, whether it's, through blockchain, through Web3, through live concerts, through whatever it is, at the end of the day, it's still a matter of the songs. And you still need both great songs and you need artists who, most importantly, are authentic.
Yeah, that makes sense. Those are the kind of artists that we're trying to bring onto our platform. The ones who love the fan base, want to connect with their fan base, will have those genuine conversations with us. Because you can, I think, tell the difference, the authentic artists from the ones who maybe aren't.
Well, it's funny. I went to the Grammys this year, right? And I loved the fact that so many artists during their speech kept saying, fuck. Because that's never happened at Grammys before. And it's funny, it seems like a silly thing, but it shows you have artists who don't care. They're not playing a game. And then afterwards, we were at the Universal after party and saw Samara Joy, who I mentioned had won the Grammy. And she was having such a great time. She ended up having to cancel shows that week because she got sick. But that's all right. You're entitled as an artist to have fun and celebrate. And she's dancing up there, even though there's a whole room full of people. And I think you are seeing more of a reversion to artists who basically, again, you look at the Tom Waits, the Joni Mitchells, the Lou Reeds, the great artists of all time, Miles Davis. They didn't give a fuck.
I love that. I didn't have a lot of scripted questions for you. I'm the same way. But one thing that I did notice in your bio is that you teach music journalism for Grammy Camp. I don't know what that is. What is Grammy Camp? Or do people go?
Well, that's something I haven't done for a few years, but it's funny. That was actually something I really love doing. And it's a program set up by Naris. And it's a camp that they set up for kids who are interested in all aspects of the music business. And so it's a great program. I haven't been involved with it a few years, so I don't know what the current status of it is. But I did it for like 15 years, and I met some really wonderful people doing it, people who've gone on to great success. And it was just for me, right? I love giving back. I love working with journalists. Now, having said that, I would advise anybody who wants to go into journalism today, they need to treat it like music. Unless it's something that you absolutely have to do, run the other direction. Unless you feel like this is your life's calling and you have no choice, freaking run screaming in the other direction, because journalism today is a disaster.
Why is it a disaster? How did it end up like that?
I mean, let's look at the lack of integrity for one. Let's look at the shit you have to write about for another. I'm very lucky. When I started with Forbes, I had a deal at Rolling Stone the second time because I have so much access, where they said, basically, we're taking right of first refusal on every interview you do, but you don't have to pitch us. You don't have to do anything. And Forbes gave me the same deal, which I had not had before. I mean, which they, I don't know what they do with other people, but so I'm lucky. I don't have to write about freaking Kanye or Taylor or whoever. Actually, I like Taylor Swift. I have nothing against. I actually think she's a really cool artist and a really cool person. But, I would rather stick needles in my eyes, which I've done when I had a detached retina, than ever write about Kanye. And I don't have to do any of the crap that other people have to do. And so much of it, though, is so contrived. I remember standing on the red carpet at Grammys a few years ago, right? And I'm between two very prestigious publications. And this was like 2018. One is asking if Kanye should be president, and the other is playing Fuck, Marry, Kill with pop stars, or pop songs, I'm sorry. And this is supposedly a prestigious outlet. And it was so funny. I'm watching this Chinese artist on the red carpet who's looking at this very prestigious outlet saying, Fuck, Marry, Kill. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I don't understand what you're saying at all. And I remember being on a red carpet at a Steven Tyler Grammy party, and I've known Steven for years, right? And Steven is a great dude. I can't speak on the current status because, I don't know anything about that, but he's always been nothing but great to me. And I'm standing next to people in Us Magazine who literally are like, we don't have that much to ask Steven Tyler. We can just team up. And I'm like, if you don't have anything to ask Steven Tyler, go home. Do not be writing about music. It's an insult to Steven. It's an insult to music, and it's an insult to everyone. And that's the current status of journalism is most people just don't understand music. They don't care.
Yeah, that I can see where that would be frustrating. And if you're struggling with it at your level, I can imagine when you're, on your way up, having to deal with that would be a lot.
Well, here's a great story on this that actually, and it's funny because, we just lost Lisa Marie Presley not long ago, who was wonderful and actually changed the entire trajectory of my career. I worked at Rolling Stone, and I was doing random notes, and they would have me ask every issue these idiotic questions. What's your favorite underwear? What's your favorite shoes? Do you prefer anal or whatever? I mean, just idiotic stuff, right? And I asked Lisa Marie her favorite shoes, and she came back to me. Then later on, I sat down to do an exclusive with her for Storm and Grace, which was the wonderful album produced by T-Bone Burnett. And she's like, wait, I know you. She's like, did you ask me my favorite shoes? And I kind of sheepishly lied. And then I went back to Rolling Stone and said, I'm not asking these questions anymore. From now on, I write my own questions because I'm the face that has to interview these artists, and I look like a freaking idiot. And so it was because of her and her calling me out on it that I realized, you can't blame it on your editor.
I have to ask this. I feel like journalism 101 is don't ask a guy the same question he's been asked a million times. What's your favorite interview that you've done? Because you've talked to so many people.
That's easy. And it's fine because what's interesting is that I'll answer you in 1 second, but it's funny you say don't ask the same question, but there's an interesting Rorschach test. And I've devised this over the years is learning some people will ask, are you a person half full, or glass half empty? Because a lot of people will ask, what's your worst interview? And I'd much rather ask best interview. It's Alanis. I love Alanis Morissette, man. She is just an accumulative experience. She is amazing. She is so thoughtful, so intelligent, so honest, and just so deliberate with her answers, but very open. So I absolutely love talking to her. Some of the other ones, I love Dave Grohl. I've known Dave for years. Slash is literally the nicest guy in music. I remember one time I ran into him at the Super Bowl when he was guesting with the Black Eyed Peas, who I was friends with, and it was a big secret, so they rushed him away. 3 months later, we get on the phone, and he's like, where did I just see you last? I'm like, the Super Bowl? And he's like, yeah, I felt so bad I didn't have time to talk to you. He's like, I always try to make time to talk to you. He's just the nicest person. Perry Farrell's been a friend for years. A$AP Rocky, who I'm talking to later on. I love him. I mean, there's so many great people. Cameron Crowe, who wrote the foreword to my book. There's so many great people. If I had to pick one individual interview, it's probably the first time I interviewed Robert Plant because I grew up on Led Zeppelin. And it's funny, going back to the mythology, he's so smart that he's very open and he's very warm and he doesn't give you shit. So when it's done, you don't feel like that rock star myth has been shattered at all. And it's funny, he started messing with me and he tells me this random tale about some woman from India he's supposed to marry. And I go, that's great, but what about this? And he literally started laughing out loud. And he goes, wow, you're good. He's like, I hope they're paying you well to talk to an old guy like me at this hour of the day. And then he totally opened up. But I don't think he's used to anybody actually calling him out on his shit.
That's amazing. And I like that test, the glass half full test. It wouldn't occur to me to ask you, like, whatever your nightmare interview was. Although I'm sure people love hearing about it.
That's not that. I'd rather not give publicity. It's the same thing. I don't review records or I don't write about artists that I don't like. It's the same mentality.
Yeah, that makes sense. This is great. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me. Will you plug your books again for everybody so they can go check those out?
Well, the only one that's out right now is a book. Actually, that's not true. I did a book years ago. It's funny because I did a book many years ago called Linkin Park, or From the Inside, Linkin Park's Meteora. And it's interesting because that one, they're of course doing the 20th anniversary of that album right now. I love those guys. And, I particularly, Chester was a friend. I mean, I still miss that guy and, great dude. And so that was one that came out many years ago. And the most recent one was called Anthems We Love, which actually has Linkin Park in it as well. And that came out in October of 2022. And it's 29 different artists, everyone from The Temptations' Otis Williams, going through to U2, My Chemical Romance, Nile Rodgers, talking about one iconic song and how it became an anthem in history. So that one was a lot of fun. The craziest chapter in that book is, excuse me one second, I got Tom Waits and his wife, Kathleen Brennan, to write a chapter in the book. They were the only ones I didn't talk to, so I do not, to this day, know how the fuck I got that to happen. But that is an incredible accomplishment because Tom Waits is my favorite songwriter of all time, and he hasn't done interviews in like over a decade.
I did it for you. That's great. I'll check that out. And you've got a podcast we should all go listen to.
Yes, it's called My Turning Point. It's funny, I did about 123 episodes and then took a year off because I needed a break, and just came back recently now with it and having a lot of fun with that. And, you know, again, I think the most important thing is, and, you know, I talked to so many artists about this as well, you just have to keep things different. You have to, you know, keep things exciting and fresh and find new things to do, because otherwise, you know, and stay a fan. That's the most important thing. It's funny. My two favorite artists in the last 5 years, new artists. I mean, there's artists that I love and I've always loved. You know, like I said, Springsteen's my favorite. But it's funny. One is Noah Cyrus, who I would have never thought, you know, and but the Grammys asked me to write about her for the program when she was nominated for Best New Artist. And I love Miley as a person, and she's a great performer, but it's not music I listen to at home. So when I went to put on Noah's stuff, I was shocked to find out how much I love it. We've become friends. She calls me her soul sister. We geeked out for 20 minutes on the song Seasons in the Sun by Terry Jacks. Absolutely adore her. And then there's an artist that I actually met through Grammy Camp by the name of Sage Bava, B-A-V-A, who's an incredible artist. And for me, that sense of discovery is still what makes music fun. It's still the fact, like I still remember seeing The National, who my ex-wife, who I'm very good friends with, still wanted to see and loved. And we saw them at the freaking Echo and then the Troubadour. And I followed them from the Echo and the Troubadour all the way to the Hollywood Bowl. You know, I've interviewed Greg Dooley from the Afghan Wigs, every single project he's done since 1994.
That's amazing. And yeah,
but it's like, again, for you, and I talk about this with artists all the time too, if you're going to be one of those people who's too cool and can't be a fan, you're done.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. No, it is great. I'm a big Miley fan. I express that a lot on my shows. No, it's great though. Like the whole family, it's like pretty tremendous.
Yeah. But it's funny because, again, it wasn't, like I said, for me personally, it's not music I would put on at home. So then to be like, oh my God, this songwriter just blows me away. And like I said, we've become friends since, and she's phenomenal.
That's great. Excellent. Steve, thank you so much for joining me. This was tremendous. I think people are going to enjoy it.
I mean, I can talk for hours, man. I got a big mouth.
Yeah, I think this was great for now. This is lengthy for our Top of the Drop show, but yeah, maybe we'll get you back later on to do more in depth if that's cool with you.
Of course. No, man, I appreciate it. It was fun. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you again, Steve, for your time. That was amazing. I know a lot of people probably feel like talking to like big name artists would be exciting. I'm geeking out over talking to the guy who talks to the big name artists. Okay, next up, this week we have another drop from Bobby Millette, and he put together a little piece of content sort of explaining how he built the song that he's dropping called Moanin'. I think you guys are going to like. Let's check it out.
So I'm digging through some of my old files, trying to clear up space on my computer, and I'm looking at my old beats here that I haven't heard in years. I haven't touched these files in a long time. Anyway, this song, or this beat, I ripped the melody from Charlie Mingus. The song is called Moanin', and this is the original here so you guys can hear it. Woo! Crazy hype, crazy. Yup, that's what I wanted right here. This sound. Don't. Bum. Hey. All right, and then it breaks out into a bunch of different instruments, an orchestra of various different sounds. But that's not what I want. I wanted more hip hop. So this is my version here. Kept the intro. So I added a super funky G-funk break. This right here. Super funky. Yup, like that. Like a Shaft movie. And then the fast drums. Like army drums, dude. Uh-huh. And then that's the sound right there. I think I slowed it down a bit and I added a little bit of phase into it. I don't remember. Why is that off? Ah, here we go. Yeah, man. I should get back into beats.
You can try, go ahead, imitate. Lightweight, trying to fight with a heavyweight. I'm not the type of guy that you want to irritate. I don't love, nigga, I eradicate. I don't make out with the beat, I manipulate. Warren G in this bitch, I'ma regulate. Hit the bud, man, I'm trying to medicate. Meditate, man, I'm trying to levitate. I'm a G, go ahead, examinate. I'm a teach y'all boys, let me educate. Let me hit you with the mix, with the lemonade. Let me hit, let me what, let me celebrate. IG on blast, better hit the page. Hands up in the sky when I'm making waves. I'ma hit you with a split like Johnny Cage. Then I finish with a kick all in your face. You a shark, man, I'm a megadon. I'm not a man, I'm a rap phenomenon. XXXX, I'm a demigod. Ate a couple edibles, now I'm hella gone. I could take a couple hits in the octagon. I could wreck a couple whips in the Autobahn. I make you feel it in your bones like a megaphone. Mic wrecker, I might wreck the microphone. I don't think you got enough chromosomes. You fake, man, chemicals, silicone. I be hanging with the ghouls in the catacombs. Moonstones, headstones, mask off. You don't wanna play with me when I'm pissed off. I might be liable to piss in your crystal. You don't compete, amigo, so take off. Baseball, blast, miss off.
I thought that was fun. Let's make that the free NFT giveaway this week. Thanks everybody for joining us. If you want to hop into Discord, Emily from September Morning is going to be joining us in a Discord stage. And I hope you have a great day. Here is a QR code.
You can try, go ahead, imitate. Lightweight, trying to fight with a heavyweight. I'm not the type of guy that you want to irritate. I don't love, nigga, I eradicate. I don't make out with the beat, I manipulate. Warren G in this bitch, I'ma regulate. Hit the bud, man, I'm trying to medicate. Meditate, man, I'm trying to levitate. I'm a G, go ahead, examinate. I'm a teach y'all boys, let me educate. Let me hit you with the mix.